So in this example, we're going to look at more of a gallery of controls. And so I have to bring my form in. So from form, import form, and then I make a new form, and then I start it later on. Nice and clean in main. I do have, this is what the form will look like once it launches. And this is also the form with some grid lines so you can figure out this being row 0, this being row 1, this being row 2, column 0, column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. Just so we can get a feel for what that's going to be like. So what we'll do now is we'll go back to main and we'll run it just to see it live. And so we have a menu at the top. Right now they all hook up to the sub. We'll take a look at that sub. This button hooks up to the same sub, but we have a label, a button, sort of a dead space here, then some radio buttons, and also I would say some checkboxes, then a one-line entry, a text control or widget for multi-line, a list box with multiple items in it, and then down below we have a graphics area, particularly a canvas widget in TK, and we have our custom icon and our title in that. So let's go take a look at the form code. So here we have importing tkinter. We also bring in the message box that we use in our sub. We have our class called form, and we have the method, the dunder init method, which initializes an instance of the class. So it creates a brand new TK app. It sets the title. It sets the icon to Google Earth. You can change the icon, of course. I do have a line in here where I can set the size, 640 by 480, but I'm going to let it shrink wrap itself for now. And then I have my internal methods: make frames, make widgets, make layouts. In this case, I am making a frame for the radio buttons. So you typically put the radio buttons into a frame. And I'm also making a frame for the checkboxes as well. So I have those frames that are going to be created, and I will need to lay them out, but I will do that later. Here I am making the menu. And this is me having a file menu, an edit menu, a selection menu, and a view menu. I've chosen in this case to have a command, and what it does is someone clicks on the file, edit, selection, view. They all run the same sub right now, but in production they would run different ones. It will call this function called stub. We can scroll down at the bottom. This is my area where I always put these near the end, so it can kind of grow as it needs to grow. And I'll scroll back up. So this is me making the menu. What items are going to be on my menu? This is me making the label, right? Who's the label? This guy right here. And this is me making the button. And who's the button? This guy right here. Okay. I then have a radio buttons variable. So this is a variable that is going to basically do two things. It will track which one is selected, but by setting value equal to 1, I'm also setting what the default one is. So who will be selected in the radio button set in that. So if I change that to 2, it would be whatever radio button was number 2. This is me making the radio buttons here. I'm associating them with the frame. Right, this is how I put the radio button on the frame, and then I put the frame inside TK. Option 1, and I said, by the way, your variable is that variable I created above. My value is 2. The second button is, the value for option 1 is 1. The value for option 2 is 2, and the value for option 3 is 3 in this case. They're all sunk on the same variable. And that's the one that will be able to turn one off and turn the other one on as the user selects in that. And down here are my check boxes, and again I'm putting them on the frame. So I put the frame on TK, I put these in the frame, and that's how they show up. Right now I'm not worrying about layout, I'll do layout later. So again, this is just the text that shows up on the side of the checkbox. And if you want to have one pre-selected as on or true or checked, then you run the select command to do that. I have the text entry, okay, type here. So if I go in the grid, the fact that this shows up with this text type here, and that, actually I'll go back to this one. And this is the multi-line text, so 10 characters wide, we'll say 3 lines high. And this is me inserting the text into the text area. This is a long string of text. If I go back to the image, this is a long string of text. This is me making the list box, right? And this is me putting the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in. This is me setting the default selection to this third thing in the list, right? 0, 1, 2. 0, 1, 2, which selects 3. So the count starts at 0. That's why that's selected. And then this is me basically making a canvas with the background color cornflower blue. This is me making a coordinate series and then me drawing an arc based on that, with the fill color being white. Okay, and that's what makes that show up down below. Now the thing is, how do I get the controls on a certain part of the interface? And so we'll take a look at that code. That's going to be in the layout widgets part. This is how I associate the menu with the TK app. It's always put up in the top. So we'll go to the form. So the menu will always be put in this area just below the title bar of the TK application. So that will always go there. So the way this works is I'm using a grid layout. So this is row 0, row 1, row 2, column 0, column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. Okay, so we'll go back in here and we'll take a look. I'm taking the label and I'm putting it in row 1, column 1. So it should be in that corner. That's 0, 0 right there. And then I go in row 0, column 1. So still at the top. I'll close this for now. Still at the top, but one column over. That's the test button. That's how that button got there. I then have my my checkbox frame, and I put that into row 0, column 4. Right. So I don't have to do these in order. Row 0, column 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why my checkboxes got there. And then basically each checkbox, close main, so I don't need that, is then packed inside the frame. Because the checkboxes are inside that checkbox frame, I just pack them in there, one after the other. I then have an entry, and I put that in row 1, column 0. Okay, so this is row 0, row 1, column 0. That's why it shows up there. I then also, now I'm doing the radio buttons. So you don't have to do these in order. They're going to go in whatever row and column you specify here. So I put the frame into row 0, column 3. So let's do that. Row 0, column 0, column 1, column 2, column 3. There's the radio buttons. So they went in there. And I just pack them. So pack them kind of, we saw before, just a top center one after the other. That's probably why these aren't lining up the way we want, because option 3 has one more character and it's centered it. Right? So I actually might want to rethink how I do that. Maybe I have a grid inside a grid so I can do like a sticky west and have them all line up properly. Right? So things to think about as you lay controls out. Here I have the test text. I'm putting it in 1, 1. So this is 1, 1 right here. And then I'm putting the list in 1, 2. So this is column row 0, row 1, column 0, column 1, column 2. Yeah, land it in the right spot. And then the canvas is in row 2, 0, 1, 2. That's correct. but I'm spanning over 4 columns. Okay, and that. And I do believe that I have 5 total. And so I'm spanning over 1, although it's 0, 1, 2, 3, that's 4 columns total that it's spanning. So it looks like it's behaving there with some padding in that. And so that's how that layout of those controls work in that gallery. So, and then this is the method here that actually starts the loop up. And so there is this whole process where we'll make our frames, then we'll make our widgets, and sometimes the widget is part of TK, and sometimes a widget is part of a frame. Right. And that, so far so good, we'll say. And then I can later on get to the business about how exactly do I want to lay these controls out, and do I want to use the pack, place, or grid. So where it makes sense for us, we'll use grid. We already got into an issue with the radio buttons that packing is centering versus what we really want. So if we packed probably left, that would make those a little bit better. So if side equal to left. Do we dare try this right now? Well, we could give it a shot. So if I said side is equal to, right, we might be able to get those radio buttons to line up a little bit better in that. No guarantees in that. And so if that doesn't work, that could throw an error. You never know. Right? So see how it packed it? Not what I was expecting. It felt there was enough room that it could pack, because of the canvas, probably stretching things, it could pack them all one after the other. Not quite what I was looking for, right? And that sort of thing. So I might have to eventually change that to a grid inside a grid to get the effect that I want. Some of this you just have to run and test. I've told other students that you will spend as much time making your widgets and laying them out as you will writing the code that does all the heavy lifting or all the heavy logic. But for now, this concludes this video.